Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, friends and fellow sickos. Welcome to Pod Mavericks After Dark, though I suppose it's like 1:40 in the afternoon. I'm Kirk Henderson, editor over at Mavs Moneyball, and today I'm joined by special guest, friend of the show, frequent podcast appearance, Ben Collins. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Kirk, how's it going? I'm great, even though we really did watch the most like JV level basketball game.
Your life is primarily about dealing with horrible things, so why not an awful sports thing?
Yeah.
So are you doing all right today? Did you like the preseason basketball when we have all this college football we could have been watching?
Yeah, I know. I know what I'm thinking in that regard. I am so desperate for hoops that like I'll watch anything. So it's really, dude, it's getting rough. I'm not joking. I'm going to a WNBA finals game in a couple of weeks just to like talk hoops and hang out with people who like the game. So yeah, and it's interesting too.
Those games are intense. The finals games are fantastic.
Dogfights.
So that's pretty cool. Like just casually dropping, I'm going to a finals game. That's nice. For those of you who are here in the live room, you know that the Dallas Mavericks just lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves again in the Abu Dhabi games, 104-94. Kyrie Irving did not play because of a groin issue, which might have, in hindsight, kind of might have explained his like odd passivity in game one. Granted, he was 1 of 6 in game one. He didn't do anything bad. Shots just didn't fall. And so there really wasn't, a need to go ahead and push him for game two. The Mavericks looked a lot better in the first half, but while they've been in Abu Dhabi, they simply cannot shoot the ball. And you're just not scoring 99 and 94 points. It's just not going to cut it, even if, you're playing a bunch of bench guys. Like these are all talented basketball players. And so while the defense picked up, I thought at spots, I'm really like kind of obscenely excited about Derek Lively, which is odd to me because I would have figured it'd be Omax. And, we're here watching a set of losses, but I do feel very concerned in some respects and also very bullish in others. What would you like to talk about first?
Yeah. First, I think the energy was so much better at the start of this game. They looked so flat-footed at the end of the first quarter of the first game. And I was like, wait, what's going on with this team? Like everything looked really stagnant and weird offensively, and defensively they couldn't switch. They couldn't really get out on anything. This time, like people were really pushing the ball, trying to force turnovers, trying to do stuff. And I think a lot of it, like you keep saying, I think a lot of it's attributed to Lively and his energy and his ability to go after offensive rebounds and really fight down in the paint. So I think like the most important thing that I saw was improvement in giving a shit, which is important. And then, I think also, Kirk, I'm going to bang away at this. I've been in your DMs banging away at this, but I think that the more Hardy, the better. I understand he's 21. He's going to make mistakes.
You want to play a guy that shot 21 times or 20. Explain this. Walk me through this.
Well, he just gets, it's not right. It's not, look, I don't know how many. I'm gonna look at his thing. How many threes he shot, which was a good amount. He shot 10 threes.
He missed backboard and rim 3 times
badly
today. He would. This was not his finest performance.
If you had asked me, by the way, what he shot from three, I would have said probably 2 for 11. But he was 4 for 10. It's 40%. That's amazing. It's really good. And when he missed, he really missed. And sometimes there were relatively open threes where he literally missed rim. Not great stuff. That said, you can tell he's focused on putting his head down game to the rack.
Yes.
And this team is really focused on hitting open threes and all that stuff. That's really nice. But we haven't had a guy that can really attack closeouts at all outside of Luka, Kyrie, and sometimes Dodo from the corner. He would do that back in the day. I think there's something there. And I don't, based on what I've seen so far, it might actually be kind of tough. Offense might be hard for them to come by this year in some instances, especially when they have two bigs like this on the other side that they have to handle. They have to get to the rack and they can't, and they have to get these people in foul trouble.
Yeah.
People like Jaden Hardy are going to have to play a lot in those situations because otherwise we're just going to be launching threes over, Naz Reid and Cat while they go out there and play 35 minutes a game.
Yeah. And so I was having a talk about this with someone because, Isaac Franco wrote kind of what I feel is like the definitive piece in like the last third of the season last year when he pointed out how small the Mavericks were.
Yeah.
And they got bigger, but there are lineups that are pretty effective for them that are still very, very small. You're not playing the Wolves 82 times. The Wolves are a big ball personified team.
Right.
I'm kind of shocked at how good they looked with Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and our big guy Rudy Gobert, because it just didn't work last season. Now that might be kind of a product of the Mavericks, where it's one of these things where the Mavericks are so bad on defense at times they make anybody look good. But that kind of aside, I understand what you said, because like Hardy has a willingness to go off the dribble, kind of like the thing I talk about willingness with Tim Hardaway to shoot the ball. Hardy got to the line 8 times last game. He didn't get to the line this game. I think he probably should have, but some calls didn't go his way. That's going to happen. But he's got to find, like, when they use him, it's like a dumbed down version of like the Bertans rule that I wish they would have put into effect, where if like Hardy starts the game 1 of 5, you just don't play him anymore. But if he starts the ball and like he hits his first 2 shots, like let the man cook, let him do stuff. And tonight was kind of a tough one for me because I saw him make some really weird plays. Like he just fell down at one point coming off of a catch at the top of the key. I'm like, what is that? And then there's also like the missed threes, but then there's like the willingness to attack. And I can't fault that in a preseason game. Like I don't want to overreact to it negatively, if that makes any sense.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think that his pass, he draws in a lot of gravity, right? But his passing out of it isn't all the way there yet. And again, he's 20.
He can't pass to save his life. He had 6 turnovers today.
Yeah, that will come because it's going to have to, frankly. Like there's no other way he'll stay in the league otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. And also I think like what you said about how the Wolves looked good. Part of this is like Luka handles preseason games like they're preseason games. He's so talented that he'll still put up, 20, 30 points like he did last game. But he's not going to like kill himself.
He had a couple of like turnovers that he wouldn't do in the regular season. I mean, maybe he would.
Yeah,
he
was sticking around a little bit. And Cat was not. Cat showed up to like prove a point. I don't know. He looked really good, and he's trying very hard. And he's also doing stuff that was actually, you know what? I kind of want to talk about this, about our big rotation in general. I think there are going to be points where Grant Williams is going to effectively, even if he's on the floor with Derek Lively, is going to be a better option for bodying up bigs, like actual true bigs, than Lively is. Lively, as you keep saying, is like super rail thin. He's getting bullied a lot. Gobert just dunked over him like it was a video game earlier.
Yeah.
There are going to be times where Grant Williams is probably a better option because of his, low base and
sure.
the fact that he's just a thick dude, and he has pretty long arms. It's, he's in good shape for that. So I think like that's part of it too. I think there's going to be times where Grant Williams is effectively playing the 5 on defense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The things that I found kind of odd today was I made the joke before the game of true or false, is my podcast host, meaning Josh Bowe, taller than the majority of the Dallas Mavericks lineup? And the answer to that question is yes, because Josh is 6'7",
Holy shit.
Hardy and Green are 6'4" if you're being generous to Hardy. And Grant Williams is listed at 6'6", and he is not.
Right.
That said, I thought that the way they started the game with some energy and playing better, like you can make up for size if you play hard and positionally rebound and chase down stuff. They just got run off the floor in the first quarter of the last game and never really got it back together. Now, I don't know what to make about the end of the first quarter into the second quarter when all the kind of starting rotation guys were still playing and shots just aren't falling. Like there was a lot, like the Mavericks shot so poorly through these two games. It feels like an overreaction to, just to the location where they get back on their home floor. They're playing a little more regularly. The shots do start to fall at some point because a lot of these looks that the guys were getting ended up being pretty decent. I mean, Grant Williams, I think, is now 4 of 14 as a preseason Maverick, I think, and he has shot all 14 threes. So it's like, you hit one or two more. A guy hits one or two in a game more, and do you feel any differently about this? I mean, the Omax shooting was just riotously bad. That stood out like a sore thumb. But you make one or two more threes in this game. Does the game feel different even if you still lose? I think that's probably the case, at least for me.
Yeah, and I also think that, a lot of these shots that Grant Williams was taking, or even Omax, they were early in the shot clock, basically transition threes sometimes that I saw. And some of these things just, I don't think they would happen in a regular season game. And it does feel like our early offense or some of these, I just don't think some sets have been installed yet. I feel like they have been focused on kumbayaing in the desert together, and that's probably the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that a lot of the new guys really have seen a fully installed offense yet. And that happens when you get back to Dallas and you start actually dealing with it.
Well, and this was actually my final point on the recap. And, I'm always I always have to really think about how I talk about Kyrie Irving, just due to how I talk about Kyrie Irving.
Right.
But also he provokes opinions, but he also matters a lot to the team. And so how do you judge an offense that doesn't have your second star that is really supposed to be, there's a guy in the chat, and there was a kind of, your typical stupid internet conversation today started by a Raptors guy being like, Luka really needs he needs to play off ball more, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, can we fucking relax with the 4-time All-NBA first team guy? Can we relax with that shit? That said, okay, that's what Kyrie is there for. So if Kyrie's not playing, what the fuck are you analyzing?
Yeah.
It's I know it's a guy named Anthony Doyle. His takes suck.
As you know, the national takes on Luka are always exactly like 1.5 years behind where they, the conversations that we had. Because like when he was probably a sophomore, we're like, why isn't he playing off ball more? And there were actual pretty clear answers for that.
I absolutely want to see Luka play off ball more.
Yeah.
I want to see him move off ball more. All these things are fine, but it's like, is the preseason game where Kyrie's not playing the time to have that discussion? No.
Also, do you want Luka in Abu Dhabi, like muscling up and trying to like body these dudes? Like, what are you talking? This is not the time to.
The Wolves have guarded Luka very well. Like, you remember the game? It was the game before the 7-game win streak. They played the Wolves back-to-back just like this. Luka got his ass thrown out of the game. It stopped that really long 25-point streak that he had because he was pissed at how the Wolves just bodied him. So, and they did a good job again today. He had a couple of his normal baseline spin moves that were just flat out stopped.
I think in a 7-game series that it would not obviously not look like this. And also in a 7-game series, we would put so much emphasis on pace. And when we had pace this game, like true, genuine, moving off of rebounds, Luka in transition looked fantastic. Everybody looked really good when out in the open. And in a real actual basketball game, that's what that would look like. And we looked pretty good.
They pushed the ball a little more today at times. That was really nice, at least in the first part. So it's like you're really analyzing two different halves. The first half with the starters, the second half with some mixed bench units, end of bench guys. And so for the first half, do I wish the Mavericks would have played a little bit better? Yeah. But did they play better than the other day? Yes. Yeah. And so I kind of walk away from this game saying, what are the things that I'm interested in? I'm interested in how many minutes Lively can get. Lively, he had, how many fouls did he end up with? He got 4 fouls in less than 12 minutes the other day. He ended up with 4 fouls. He had 3 fouls in 23 minutes today. One of them was an offensive foul where he he set a screen, and instead of rolling, which is, like you turn your shoulder and go back, he rolled his shoulder into someone basically like a block, like a chip block. And it's like, okay, don't do that. But otherwise, I was really like, I find myself gleeful, and maybe it's like the soft bigotry of Mavs expectations, so to speak. Where it's like, oh, we've just had such poor center play for so long. Anybody that's able to do anything, I get excited about. Yes, he did get bullied by a couple of the big centers, but he had 3 blocks that were all good and a couple of unbelievable challenges where the very excited NBA TV guy, I don't know what his name was just like, what is that kind of play? And man, if you could just like, you get the rest of the defense into a more connective sort of place, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, he's like Dwight Powell without the like permanent look of confusion and some skills. Like it's like a nice real, and by the way, an extra like 2 inches and probably eventually another 30 pounds.
He's a big guy. Like I know what you mean when you say he's skinny, but for a young man,
he's skinny for a 19-year-old, which is what he is. So like that's what it is.
But he's I just found like I feel like he looks like he belongs or will belong shortly. Is that an overreaction?
No, that's exactly right. Like
we're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Were you the person who said that he weighs the same as Tyson Chandler weighs? Is that Josh?
Yeah.
So like that's where he is now. He's obviously going to fill into his body. Like, Dirk was, I think, roughly the same exact age as he is now. And you remember when he started the NBA, what he looked like. And then, he was a broad-shouldered dude by the time he left. Can we really quickly, we should probably talk about the second half where they actually made this a game. Because
please do. I was honestly writing more during that part.
I will say objectively, our 4th and 5th unit is better than the Timberwolves. Like, it's really exciting, really good news for us. But that is true. And I do wonder who you think are going to end up with these two ways now, because AJ Lawson has looked pretty pedestrian, and I'm not sure he gets re-upped. And I am just going to tell you my two. I think it should be Jelly Walker and Dexter Dennis, who's come out of complete nowhere to me. He had some very athletic, kind of beautiful plays today, taking people off the dribble, getting a very loud dunk, getting a chase down block. He looks like he can do some stuff. So I don't know where your thoughts are at on that. Who's going to be our G League emissaries this year? But do you have any ideas?
So I think if you have 3 second two-way players, which is what you're allowed now.
Oh yeah, you have 3 now. That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
It depending on where you are in your team building cycle, you owe it to yourself to cycle guys through there like the back end of your fantasy football bench, where you're just sort of hoping somebody can come along.
Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to see I try not to ever get too attached to these guys because like Lawson was so fun or the summer league before last, and then the Mavericks didn't sign him. Then he ended up with a team. I like Mike Miles a lot. He's currently on a two-way, but I mean they can waive guys and sign them out. So it's like Dexter Dennis. There's not much more I can say other than the fact that I love how hard he plays, and there's just an athletic element involved where a lot of the Mavericks that we've ever watched this is why Lively is also so fun. We've never had that super athletic guy. Like Gerald Green for like a season under Carlisle was the closest thing we had to like that oh my god athlete. And I'm not saying Dexter's that guy, but that dunk, the missed dunk and then the dunk that he had were like, oh shit.
Yep.
And so as he's 6'5", he's 210, like that's kind of archetypal, scoring guard size. Like why would you not want to see if there's some there, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I feel. Justin Anderson was the thing that was going through my head the whole time.
Better handles.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, the Justin Anderson point guard experience. Kirk, we've been through so much. But also, I really like Jelly Walker. I think he's probably 5'8", but like he has this like JJ Barea, like, let's see what we can get moving energy. He gets into the paint, causes a lot of chaos. He doesn't look that out of place, despite being that
he looks
small.
strong. There was a guy over the summer who would hop into these comments here. I don't see him today. Maybe he does. Who was just like, Jelly Walker is going to be on the team. Trust me, Jelly Walker is going to be on the team. You're being an idiot, Kirk, for not paying attention to this. I didn't ignore him, but like I don't know enough about Jelly Walker to comment. Not going to comment. If he makes the team, really cool. I'm happy for whoever makes this team, and if they decide that person is worth the spot. Because the way I feel about these G League players is they get experience, they get the minutes. You're not doing the sitting on the end of the bench waving towel shit as nobody practices. So it's like, why not? That's fine for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And by the way, can we talk about two other things I wanted to bring up? That's
why I invited you. I had no idea what to say. So
great.
I'm glad you came on here.
I want to see some Exum minutes with at least the second unit. Like, he's been playing third unit stuff, and he looks good. He looks like, he definitely looks like an NBA player to me, right? He looks like an NBA wing, which is important to know because I feel like everywhere he went in the NBA previously, they were trying to meld him into a point guard, and he's just not a point guard. He's like, he's like a small wing or like a big combo guard. Sure. And he looks pretty good. But I don't actually know if he's good because he's been playing against like Luka Garza instead of, Naz Reid or even a Cat type, right? Or like, I would guess he would be defending an Anthony Edwards if he was somehow starting on this team. And I don't know what he looks like in that regard. His body's better. His decision making is pretty good, although he looks a little nervous sometimes. But I would just like to see it before the preseason ends because I don't know where he fits currently. I would guess that he is probably like our 11th man right now. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, which I would have put him higher initially, and I think maybe through regular season play when they're running real sets, I think that there's a chance for that to bump up and down. But I think this sort of speaks to why before the Mavericks got their butt kicked in 2 preseason games, everybody's sort of feeling slightly bullish. You don't want to call it like depth in the sense of, the Mavericks have enough depth to get to the NBA Finals. No, but they do have enough depth to get through the NBA season. And like that was clearly not the case last year, where by mid-February, particularly after we traded for Kyrie Irving, it was Kyrie, Luka, and guys that were trying not to die. And that's not to be disrespectful, but everybody was playing 2 and 3 positions up relative to where they should have been in the hierarchy.
Yeah, there's a difference between depth and options, right? Where like you can come off the bench and be like, what do we need? Do we need energy today? Do we need some shooting? Like, with our bench, it's going to be what's broken right now. If we need energy, we'll put in Josh Green. If we need shooting, we'll put in Seth, right? Exum, I'm just trying to figure out what he is in that, right? I don't know. He's neither energy nor shooting, but he could be a reliable ball handler and defensive player.
Yeah, and that would be fine with me because it's Josh sort of compared it to the Frank Ntilikina thing, where it's Frank couldn't do much of anything, but when he did do something, it really worked and it really gave the team a boost. And I think you get more from Exum in that position because I think Exum's better, and that's nice.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what his comp is for this year. Is like a slightly better in a slightly more off the dribble focused Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to bring up, I just, I don't know where to stand right now on two guys. And they both have Max in their name. It's Omax and Maxi. So Omax is easy to start with. I think he's going to be good. I just think he has he's the Dodo starting kit, and he's at the very beginning, right?
Yeah, and that's okay.
He airballed a couple shots today. He looks...
Hey man, he had a cool turnaround in the middle of the key. Like he drove, like his dribble. He dribbles sort of like I don't know. It feels like a giraffe running, where it's like his arms. It's like real, but when he loses the ball, it's like, oh, stop. But then when it works, like this is amazing. Yeah, and that's kind of going to be the experience with him.
Right. I think that's it. Is that he goes when he gets downhill. He has. I would rather be anyone than the guy covering him, right? And I think that's the thing that you can't really. That's not a statistical thing you can look at the end of the game. He had a couple of drives like that where I was like, oh shit, this guy is horrifying. But I'm just not sure he is ready yet. I'm not sure
he's not
in rotation.
He's not, but not like the question is how do you get him positive minutes in the way they got Hardy minutes last year? They need to move that faster than they did Hardy, but I think you can figure some things out for him. He's just so big. I don't know how you can avoid playing him. Like he's because he was guarding Cat kind of. No, they had Grant Williams guarding Cat to start the game. And I would have liked to have seen Grant and because it's like what they do when they're treating. And this is my opinion, but I think they treat Green like he's a small forward. I think Green's a shooting guard. Green is not big enough for me. And I think if you play him with Omax a little more and with Grant, you haven't. Because I like Green's ball handling and Luka. I don't know. There's a lot of where we're getting into now, really weed stuff, and I know you got to go soon. It's just there's a lot of like the Mavs have a lot of optionality, and the fact is they're going to have to sort of play test this in the regular season in real situations to get it to see if it works or not.
Yeah, and I just want to say, so I think the last point I'll bring up is about optionality because I think optionality is the point of the season for us, right? Like this team will have a lot of different things. A lot of different people can do a lot of different stuff. There are not a ton of Swiss Army knives in this team offensively other than Luke and Kyrie, but there are people who can come in, just do some stuff, I guess. But that's my other issue is like, is Maxi gonna be in the NBA next year?
He looks washed, but I don't know what, like Maxi's got like big Undertaker getting buried in the 90s vibes and like popping up out of the thing. And that's,
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Well, I guess we'll see in the regular season. Maybe he's just preserving himself a little bit here. And it's every time somebody brings up Max Kleber, they think he's 28 and he's 33 or something, 32.
He's 30, 31. He's not okay, but he's definitely got a lot of miles on him for the kind of player that he is. And I think that's you ask a lot of them and you do more. And there's a good comment down here in the chat that Mav's biggest problem is a lack of role definition and offensive scheme. For the team to be at its best, the players need to know their roles and the team needs to have a unified direction. That's from Nav411. I think that sort of encapsulates elements of what our concerns are. Now, here's the real problem. And my favorite, there's a guy here earlier. I'm looking for his name, but I should have flagged the comics. It made me laugh out loud. David Sanchez in the chat said, I can't wait for Negative Kirk to arrive. Here's the real problem with, and let's just be honest, Negative Kirk is always here. I can't realistically kick the shit out of the Mavs for anything until they get a decent sample under their belt. Things are going to piss me off. I'm going to fly off the handle because that's how I am. But I have a hard time getting too ginned up about things. The main element being because Kyrie's not here, Yep.
Yeah, we can't, if it would be, I was just going to say this and then go into what I called my preseason overreaction rotation, but it would be stupid to overreact right now. This is like these are not real basketball games. These are, I think they're nice little indicators for what people have added to their game, like Hardy adding that floater or what Lively is and what he looks like against, two bigs, which is like a really interesting test. And he held his own. So that's great. But this isn't basketball. So we can't overreact yet. That's it. So can I really quickly bring you through what I believe is what I think should be the rotation based on what I've seen so far. And again, this is probably stupid. But what you said about optionality, I think, is the big thing with this team. And I think the best way to do that, and it's going to sound nuts, is to start a 3-guard lineup. So start Hardy, Kyrie, Luka, and then start Grant Williams at the 4 and Lively at the 5.
How do you know how small a lineup is? Are you
That's
insane?
an incredibly small lineup. That said, Luka, Luka guards wings.
Luka guards whoever they don't want him to foul.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to do that, you need his big old butt to play some defense.
That's true. But right, he guards the guy in the corner. I don't know who that is, whatever. And then you have 2 small guards who can run around. There are going to be times where that doesn't really work.
Okay.
With like, for example, like the Clippers or something where they have basically 4 giant guards by the time they get James Harden. But I think this allows you to, first of all, do that Hardy thing that you're talking about. If he's going out there being a chucker and just, taking threes that glance off the side of the rim, then you can just take him out and it doesn't have to return really even. And what you can see is what you need with that optionality. So if you need energy, you bring in Green. If you need some more shooting, you bring in Hardaway or Curry. If you really need more size, you can just bone up, put Holmes in there. Or if you need, more energy, it's Powell. You can go super duper small, take out Hardy for Green and take out Lively and have Grant Williams play some 5. It just allows you this universe of options that allows you to settle into what the game will become for you over the course of the time. And I think, look, I understand this is nuts, and it's like, it reminds me of that lineup that we played out of pure desperation against the San Antonio Spurs in 2003 with Nick Van Exel and Steve Nash and Mike Finley and Walt Williams and Dirk. Like that's what it reminds me of. That lineup was fun as hell and super cool, and that's what it reminds me of. But that also might be our best bet. I think like this team will struggle to find offense if it's, Luka with Kyrie and then it's Grant Williams and Green and Lively. That's every shot is going to come from our backcourt. This way, it allows us to get like spam the pick and roll with Lively, get Grant Williams involved off closeouts or open threes. Everybody can shoot except for Lively. I just think it would be good. I understand though, Kirk, it's super small. Anyways, I want to know what your overreaction starting lineup would be at this moment.
I mean, I'm still a madman where I want to see jumbo ball. Like, don't go get big guys and not play big guys. I want to see Luka, Kyrie, Grant, Omax, Lively. That's what I want to see. Lots of people have told me that Grant Williams can't actually handle and that he's a lot more like Dorian than I'm willing to understand. Okay. But with the offense the Mavericks have chosen to run, which is a my turn, your turn, kind of heliocentric, like Duliocentric. What the hell are we going to call this? Like between 2 unbelievably talented basketball players who like to have the ball in their hands. The other 3, I would love for them to be able to crash the boards, hit open shots, set screens, do whatever. I need Lively to play as much as possible. That's where I am. But I am kind of curious is to see if you can do kind of Grant at 5, Omax at 4, Green at Hardy 3. And Luka. Yeah. That'd be another one. That
to me, if you're not going to do my suggestion, I think that works really well too, because it's 5 out and you're basically literally switch everything at that point. It doesn't really matter at that point. Just switch everything, go 5 out. I think if we are in the first round of the playoffs against a particularly shitty defensive team, I think that's where it's going to end up, because you're going to get so many options.
Sure.
You're going to it would be really good, but that's also 7 months from now. So
sure.
I think we can wait. But yeah, anyway, I am both at the end of the day here, encouraged by what I've seen from the kids, discouraged by the lack of organization as a basketball team.
Sure.
But I'm not making huge determinations based on
this. The first podcast we had and then the live show that we had, like there's a lot of like the kid frustration and like the lack of feel like they're ready for the game is starting to really chafe on fans. And I wonder how long, like they need to come out with some sort of purpose when they play regular season basketball, and they need to look like they've been fucking coached. That'll put a stop to a lot of this stuff. But it's like, you go out there and it's lackadaisical. Oh, it's 82 games, it's a long season, but quickly becomes, you can't win with young guys, which quickly becomes, well, what did you expect? This is a step back before taking a step forward. The excuses are built into this team, which I understand. That's just narrative building at its finest. But I would just really like them to come out and notch some easy wins. Like I said, 6-4 in their first 10 is what I'm hoping for. And somebody got mad at me. And I'm like, if they won 60% of their games, that would be awesome for the year. Like you're thrilled about that. So I don't know. It's a great game to overreact to. Glad we watched some basketball in the middle of the day. I have kept you well past when you said you needed to go. So we should let you go.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. It's really nice. Look, this was super fun, and I'll be around all season watching this team.
Hopefully you'll hop into some of the live shows sometimes because those we have a great time with that. All right, before Ben, you can hop off if you need to, and I will close out the show. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, so basically there was a question early in the thing, are you going to have a group therapy? And the answer to that question is today I cannot. It's youth Saturday is for the boys, or in this instance for the boy, my child. He has a baseball game which starts in about 15 minutes, which I need to get to. So I'm going to head to that. And then basically I don't know what we're going to do schedule-wise for the next 2 shows because we have a game on Tuesday. Mavericks have a game on Tuesday against Real Madrid, 1:45 local time. I think we'll get some more eyeballs in that one just because of the different kind of afternoon slot. I don't know about podcasts for both those. It just really depends on what sort of work schedule Josh and I have for the regular season. I didn't ask for everybody to like and subscribe because it's a little late for that now, but if you could consider it, I would appreciate it. Everybody, please be good. Just remember, it is preseason. I think everybody should take a deep breath until about game 10. If things look horrendous in the first 10 games, then we should panic. All right, guys. Everybody, have a great Saturday. We will talk to you soon, and go Mavs.